And now, more Utalk now.
Steve here, and the whole crew is going to be here on today's show, which is going to be great. It's been a long time.
Been a long time.
A long time, Katie, since we have. I mean, it's. I don't even remember. Well, it was last year. Larissa will be here, and of course, Katie is here.
Hi, everyone. How's it going?
Hey, good. Nice to see you. You look the same, but I haven't seen you since last year.
I know. I haven't seen you guys since last year, too.
You know, it's kind of crazy because it's a new year. It's a new decade. And it's just a very different situation. So
I personally, I don't know how Katie felt, but, regardless of politics, I really just kind of got emotional when I saw Kamala Harris, get sworn in, because just like this last year, I had this conversation with someone where they're like, has there ever been any female president or vice president? These were with kids. I was having this conversation with some kids. Okay. And I'm like, no. And then I had to explain to these kids why we've never had, a female president or vice president. And I didn't even have a good explanation. Why not? I'm like, just because.
Yeah. And I was fascinated too because she is the first Black/Asian.
Yes, don't forget she's Asian. That's one of my pet peeves. As someone who's Asian, it's they always forget the Asian part, and that matters to people like me.
When we have the first Italian, then we're here in the United States, and we're going to have to say something. But no, it's interesting. She's actually not the first vice president of color.
That's right,
because it was Herbert Hoover's vice president who was actually American Indian, which is fascinating. If you again, history. So it's fun to tie all these things together, and it's different. Everything is different, and the question is, how do we move forward with the things that aren't different?
We're still at home. Katie's still wearing a mask, by the way, which I love, your mask.
She told me she has half a wall in her room of masks.
I have a wall of masks. I organized it and put it all together this weekend like an art piece, but it's just masks, they're arranged by the kind they are and the colors and, it's like an art piece on the wall. You got to know what you have so you can match it to your outfit. So
you told me you just put them up there. So you have them arranged in some kind of an order?
I do.
That's pretty impressive. That's some good mask game there. I honestly haven't been like you, Katie, where I've really gotten into all the different patterns and different styles. And, I wanted to get a Lakers one, a Penguin one, of course. So
what about a Utalk mask?
Hey, that's some good swag. Yeah.
You get a Utalk mask going, ladies?
I think we should.
I think that's definitely a great swag idea. So, and then socially distance, and then it'll say you talk. It's all about you talking to me. So yes, I have a mask on. You can talk to me if you're 6 feet away.
One of our interns is talking about twisting our logo a little bit and doing something different. So maybe this will be the time to try it. Well, it's this whole thing. I think I think everybody's tired of it, and it's interesting because in other countries
they wear them.
All the time.
Yeah, you know what? It's been kind of a thing, especially in Asian countries, because they had SARS about 15, 16 years ago. And that was massive, right? So then even those, you see the people, they were like, all right, we're going to put the mask on because we know what happened last time. Mm-hmm. And, apparently us Americans didn't really know, I admit, even though I'm of Asian descent, I gave kind of the side eye to all the Asians, all my parents, friends and stuff that were, doing the mask thing. I was like, oh, it just covers your face. It just looks uncomfortable. But then, when things got serious, I'm like, okay, I definitely mask on. This is no joke anymore. Mm-hmm. So hopefully things, I know some people are still a little bit in denial, but it does help. Even just psychologically, because that's the thing. It's it helps me feel more safe if I see someone else that's got a mask on and I've got a mask, and they do help. it's blocking stuff. Because, like, think about it. Like, when we're sick, even before the pandemic, right? Like, when we had a cough or a cold and flu, people would show up to work, or, you know, I mentioned this to you guys. It's like, you go to a party, you say hi to a friend, you give them a hug. Next thing you know, you say, hey, how's it going? And they're like, oh, I've been sick the last 2 days. And you're like, why did you touch me?
Right.
Why did you just hug me?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't think that's going to happen anymore, where, like, people are going to be, if they're sick, they're going to be even if it's not COVID, like, they're going to be hopefully more considerate and cautious around other people.
Yeah.
People are going to mask up, even if you just have a common cold, to not give it to somebody else, even, just because, like, you may know, like, oh, it's not COVID, but then the other person doesn't know you don't have COVID. So just out of courtesy, you don't want to freak them out with a cough.
And that's a big thing, I think, just respecting somebody else, and I would rather err on the side of caution, and you hear different narratives on the mask, but I think bottom line, there's more on the side of saying it's better to wear it.
Yeah.
Because you could be carrying it even if you don't have it, and you don't want to spread it. What baffles me is, with adults especially, do we need to give a course on how to wear a mask? I mean, it's like, putting it down here, just barely touching, your upper lip doesn't work, boys and girls, and it's funny because I hear people say, well, I can't breathe. I've gotten out of the habit. I got to get back into it. But when I was full on into the jogging thing during the pandemic, I was wearing a mask. And, it's like, I asked my doctor and he said, well, you could see somebody if they get close to you, you can move away or whatever. But he said, it's not going to hurt you. And he said, it's like training to run in a higher elevation. And I was just in for a checkup, before the start of the new year. And my doctor, checking the heart. Wow, your heart's really strong. Let me check your lungs. Man, you got killer lungs. Oh, that's right. You're doing that jogging stuff with the mask on. I go, yeah. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to keep doing this, because again, thinking about everybody else. And they say now that still a lot of people are not wearing, they're getting away from wearing them. And I think I personally think it's a mistake. I think let's wear it and respect one another, and not freak people out. I mean, it's crazy times. It's way crazy times. I was talking to a couple people. One actually, I think he's 19, lives in the Southwest. And I said, just how are you feeling about, what's going on? And he goes, sometimes I'm afraid to go to sleep at night because I don't know what I'm going to wake up to in the morning. And it's not that he's paranoid. This is a very intelligent guy. But I get what he's saying, because it's kind of like, oh, my goodness, what more could happen? And then I was talking to a girl out here on the West Coast, and she's right around the same age, 19, 20. And I said, well, how are you feeling about things? And she goes, I just wish everybody would stop pointing the finger at each other. Let's learn to get along. And, the concept of unity is so important. And part of that is respecting. And Katie, you came up with I thought it was a cool idea when we were discussing this show about maybe some conversation that we could have.
Yeah, it was Martin Luther King's birthday this week as well. And, Dr. King was very smart and had a lot of great advice. And a lot of people this week really, were saying, so many people are just so quick to post this stuff, but they don't live it and don't take it to heart. And it's like, why aren't we doing that? With everything going on in the world today, the world is so different now than it was, a year and a half ago. And there's a new normal, and it's been stressful on a lot of people, and it's divided a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of division.
And, why can't we, just take some of these, people that are so smart with all these quotes and, actually live them out and, bring unity, bring, kindness back, just move forward together as a nation. And
okay, now Katie and Larissa can back me up on this. You're typically the fact girl on Utalk, not FAT, but FACT.
Yes.
You kind of give us the facts. So can we assign you to be the quote girl on the show today?
Sure.
All right, hit them with them quotes.
Okay. We're all about making a difference here, and I just really like some of Dr. King's quotes. Like one of them, that I really like this one, and I think this is really great for what's going on right now. He says, the time is always right to do what is right.
Ooh.
Seems obvious, but a lot of people don't know how to do the right thing.
No, that's true, Larissa. I mean, you begin to wonder. I know right around where I live and where the office is, people are driving like maniacs. They are not driving right. I don't mean like in the lane or anything else, although that's part of the problem too. I was coming back to my house one day, and there's this guy that's in front of me, and he's swerving back and forth, and literally hits the side of a car, takes the mirror off and part of the bumper off, and just keeps going.
What?
Yeah, it was pretty bizarre. That's a whole nother story, but it's like people are not observing red lights, stop signs. I mean, not that that's new, but it seems to me it's gotten worse.
Well, and like the people are, like I've seen so many of my friends like throw massive parties and weddings and like birthday parties because we're all turning, we're all turning 35 this year, and everyone's like, oh, but we have to party anyway. And I'm like, well, is that really the right thing to do? I mean, I know you want to party, but we're not supposed to be doing that. So.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really interesting how I think people are, I don't know, like kind of ignoring, the right thing. But even though they're telling people the right thing, like you said, like there's a lot of people that will quote something or like you hear these stories of some of our government officials. I mean, I'm not trying to get political, but it's hard. It's like they'll say something like, don't go out. And then you see them going out. Right. And it's not even just people that are Democratic or or one side or the other Republican. It's like you see this kind of across the board. Yeah. And I mean, it's like us like people who are parents, right? Like when they tell their kids like not to do something, and they turn around and do the same thing. So like that's kind of how it feels sometimes, right? Like parents try to tell our parents told us certain things, and then you're like, but wait a second, mom and dad, like you.
Well, you got to throw in the whole thing of what is right.
Yeah.
Who's right. I think it comes down to common sense. Okay, it says stop, stop sign. It says, the mandate is wear your mask. And we just go right down the line. It to me, and I guess that's my practicum mind. It should be practical and simple. It's not rocket science. I don't know. It just seems like we've lost track of what is right.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely feel like one of the things like that we can look for this year is hopefully being more courteous to each other. I mean, I feel like it feels like a broken record sometimes because I know we've been kind of doing this whole like say goodbye to, goodbye to mean, #goodbye to mean campaign and like be kind. And yet I feel like people got meaner. Maybe it's because people are frustrated. But I totally, understand that like, it's okay to go run outside in the street when there's no one around and just scream at the top of your lungs. Cause I think we've all been there. Like, how many of you out there have been there? Like, we're watching, like we're listening, like you get to that point where you've been cooped up so long, but because we have, this is just this, like you said, this is kind of the new normal. We have to find ways to kind of keep going forward. Katie, you were going to say something?
I was just agreeing with you. It's like coming from like a perspective of having chronic illness, like you're used to having to be stuck in a house and like you kind of understand what people are feeling. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like that's what we have to do. So, just do it and don't complain, Well,
and it seems to me if you're, this wisdom from Dr. King, to always do the right thing. Just add to it the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Do you want to be treated politely? Do you want to be treated kindly? Do you want to have somebody listen to you? Because that's another thing I think we ought to practice this in this new decade, this new year. Let's start listening to one another.
Yeah, really.
I'm a drummer. I've got, four-way coordination. I can be doing something different with each of my feet and both of my hands.
Oh, but you've lost your hearing, right, from all that drumming?
What was that you said? No, fortunately, I'm pretty much okay there. But I can frustrate people too because I can have several things going on at once. But we really need to focus in and listen. The kindness and add listening to it because people are pouring their hearts out, or they want to because this is a tough time, losing a loved one or somebody is sick with COVID, or whatever it happens to be, abuse in the home. I mean, some people are stuck with the person that is abusing them. They're stuck in the house and they can't get out. There's no escape. I mean, typically you could escape at school. At least you're away for a few hours every day or whatever. But I think the kindness and listening, there's so many things, that we could expand upon, and maybe we'll say that for another time too, with what Dr. King has said. I mean, it's just timely wisdom, and really timeless wisdom he gave us. Katie, do you have another one from Dr. King?
I do, and I think this one's really relevant to what we're going through right now. And he says, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward.
Ooh, that is so good. I feel like that is so of this moment right now, right?
Yeah.
Because we do feel like we've gone backwards. Like we've taken like 2 steps, or like 1 step forward, 2 steps back in a lot of ways. And yet, not, instead of feeling discouraged, we just got to make whatever little progress, we can. Oh man, that's so good. So good.
Well, I was just going to say, there's an older proverb that says the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
That's good too.
And you tie that in with what Dr. King has said. And I love that. If you can't fly, then run. Yeah.
I know I can't fly.
Last time I tried, it was ugly.
And I haven't even been on a plane in over a year. Actually, I did not get on a single airplane the whole 2020, which was like,
really?
Which is, I think, the first time in forever I don't even know, since I've been an adult. I think since I've turned 18, I think it's probably the first time I've ever gone like a whole year without being on a plane, which is crazy.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Now, I was on a couple planes in February
before everything shut down. Yeah.
But I have. The very few trips I've done were cars. So that's interesting. When you think about that. Okay, so you can't fly, but you can run, right?
Well, I can't even run that well because I'm so out of shape being at home. Like I haven't been, and I tweaked my back, like carrying a suitcase like a few years ago. So like I can't run on like cement. Like I have to run on, like a cushy track or doing it in the gym. And like now you can't even go inside a gym, right? And so I haven't been, it's kind of hard. I'm the worst discipline. I didn't really make a New Year's resolution, but to do more exercise, but I really should. Like, I think the reality is like, we just have to do workouts at home now, right? And you got to do whatever you can to like, I kind of do stuff on my Xbox. Like that's the most fun for me to get a workout in, is to do different Xbox games, like, cause we can use, it's all motion censored and it's all fun and I like it.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I know, there's so many home gym stuff I made now. Like the one that's crazy to me is like have you guys heard the one, like it's like a mirror, but like you can see other people and work out with them.
Yeah,
in
that's
this
pretty bizarre.
mirror.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And it's crazy. Like all the stuff they're coming out with now. So
yeah, I mean, I do see some people, like I'm driving by some places and they're out like in a parking lot or, on a lawn, like trying to do yoga classes and stuff. So some people are still trying, but I even saw one parking lot. They actually moved in, like they moved out, I think like the like rowing machines and stuff like that. But I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh, they have to move that in and out every time they do the classes or whatever.
Yeah, moving it out. That's exercise. I'm fortunate because I live at the base of the mountains, so I've got horse trails that I can jog on. I've got a universal weight set in my garage.
Right.
I've got a good buddy that's a power lifter who's given me this routine. Unfortunately, he hasn't called in the last few weeks to say, hey, how's it going? Because it's not going at the moment. And then another friend said, hey, you need to be doing planks. It's one of the best things you can do.
Right.
So
It's
back into gear, but that's I love the vividness in this quote when Dr. King says, if you can't walk, then crawl.
Yeah.
That is so vivid because maybe some that are with us right now in this show are going, I can barely walk. I feel like I've reverted back to my childhood and I'm crawling. But that concept of continuing to move forward, even if you've got to crawl.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of people's like goals have changed, you know, like even just a simple thing of I got out of bed today and I got dressed. Like, you know, seriously, like so many people are just, I'm so depressed now and like the world is just falling apart. And it's like, it takes so much energy for me to even just get up and do anything. But it's like, you got up, you got dressed, you know, you accomplished something that day. Like you moved forward. Like even little stuff like that now, I think you can consider, you know, as a step forward.
No, I think
moving,
that's a good point, Katie. I think it's just something little that you begin to stack up. You know, it's. I heard a retired military officer, I think it was a general. He said the first thing you should do in the morning, besides, you know, go get a drink of water and then make your bed.
Okay, not brush your teeth, not.
Yeah, because he said then you can look and see that you've accomplished, you know, and then eat breakfast and you know, do all the other things. So I love the vividness and what timeless wisdom.
I should probably not tell you that I did not make my bed today and that there's a large pile of clean laundry that I have yet to fold on my bed currently.
I didn't hear it.
And like I think I might take that quote and be like, because you know sometimes it feels like when you have certain tasks, like it feels overwhelming.
Yeah.
So like I'm looking at that large pile of laundry and like maybe I just need to fold like 2 pieces of clothing as opposed to try to fold everything like at once. Because like
I was going to say 1, so see you're further ahead by 2.
To like, yeah, maybe just 1, like roll up a pair of socks, like find two socks that match and put it in the drawer, like, and call it a day and I'm good.
Yeah, you've accomplished something.
Yeah. Well, cause you know, like we joke about some of these errands, but like now that we're home all the time, right? Like I feel like I'm constantly doing like these little things, errands, or like, you know, we're eating at home all the time. So we're taking out the trash a lot, or like trash spills out, or dishes, or I mean, we're starting to get like paper plates just cause like, oh my gosh, we have to wash more dishes before we eat out a lot more. So we wouldn't have to do as many dishes. And so like all these things I know like add up and can frustrate everyone. But you know, at the same time, like you said, like we just have to accept that some of this is part of our normal life.
Yeah.
Keep going, but also just see like some of the bright side of things. You know, you don't have to spend a lot of money on gas or food going to eat out now. And hopefully, you know, I know it's hard for some people financially. But, you know, at the same time, we're not spending as much. So hopefully if we're not spending as much, we can start saving some money. And you also don't have this pressure, like, okay, maybe Katie might relate to this a little bit more than Steve, but like, you know, before we had to like go buy clothes because we had to go to all these events and parties. And, you know, Katie and I would always be like, we're going to a red carpet event or something. And we'd like, be like, hey, what are you going to wear? What are you going to wear? And then you can't wear the same thing like all the time because, you know, like you see this.
That one like 2 weeks ago, I can't wear it again, you know?
Right. But now like you're at home or you're like on Zoom, people only see like your top part of your face or whatever. Or even on IG Live here, like people don't know. Like I've got my like Mandalorian like sweatshirt, like my Baby Yoda Grogu sweatshirt on. And I bought this and I'm thinking like I love this sweatshirt and I can't even go anywhere to show it to people because like I'm at home.
It's like that TikTok. It was like you know, here's all the outfits I had planned and it's like loved it. Couldn't wear it.
Yeah.
Couldn't wear it. Love it. Couldn't wear that one either.
Well, I mean, actually, because of Zoom, I could be sitting here in my Star Wars PJs.
Right.
You know, on the bottom.
Mismatch. You could be wearing mismatch, you know, which I have done. I wear mismatched socks with mismatched pants and and shirt because it's all good.
But you know, Larissa, I like what you're saying because look for something positive in the midst of this. There's always something positive we can find. You know, and we're joking about, you know, some of these things and stuff, but really focus on something positive that you've learned, that you're able to do now, that you've accomplished, because your attitude affects so much.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed during this time of pandemic, because you know everybody's at home for the most part.
Yeah.
Like I've actually been able to like schedule getting on a call with like a bunch of good friends, like my old college roommates. Like we've been able to do it a few times. We're like, hey, let's all just get on And I think like 4 people on like a Zoom call, video call is like perfect because everybody takes up like a box and like it's not too overwhelming and it's great. And so I've done that. And I just did that with a few other girlfriends the other night where we just got on Zoom. I mean, surprisingly, sometimes it's hard to schedule, but at the same time, we are all at home. So like the things like, people are not normally like my roommates and I would try to do like this trip together to go to, like a weekend getaway or whatever. And it was so hard for everyone's schedules to like line up. And like, sometimes it's been like, hey, you free tomorrow? Yeah, I'm free tomorrow. Okay. You free tomorrow? You free tomorrow? Okay, cool. Let's do it tomorrow night,
Yeah. No, I mean, I ended up having dinner. I mean, this has been several months ago, in probably the first half of the pandemic with 3 friends in Canada and another friend in Northern California. And here we are on Zoom, in fact, you'll appreciate this. The word was, okay, let's all go out and get Chinese food and bring it back. And together. I mean, it was really fun. I want to do that again.
Steve, I don't like Chinese food.
Of course not. Italian, okay.
I love Italian, right? Yeah. But I think you're totally, right about that. I actually bought friends of mine dinner. Like I actually ordered on Postmates for them.
Oh, fun.
Because we had been wanting to take them out for dinner for a long time because they were really big, like financial supporters of our film. And so we decided I had like a free subscription to like Postmates, like, free delivery. So I'm like, oh, let me try this out. And so they live up, I'm in LA and like they live up in Northern California. And so I actually bought them, like I sent them a menu. I said, hey, where do you want to order? And they're like, okay, this is what we want. And then I ordered it for them and had it delivered to their house. So like I bought them dinner over the internet. It did take a lot of coordination, but it was fun to do that.
I mean, again, something positive. I think there's always something positive we can find. Now, Katie, before we lose track of time, there was another quote you shared with me that you found from Dr. King. What was that? I mean, there's endless ones, really.
Many amazing quotes from him.
There's other one you wanted to focus on.
Yeah. And I think this goes with our thing we like to do, mad.
Are you
making
mad?
a difference? Are you mad?
I am mad. Crazy mad. No.
But Dr. King says, what are you doing for others? And I think that's something else we should be focusing on right now, too, because, I mean, there's so much going on, but we can still do things for other people if we know, they have a family member who's, sick, or they lost their job, or, there's so many things going on right now that there's so many ways we can go mad and make a difference.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I personally have found myself, getting really caught up in what all the things that I need to do on a daily basis. And I do need to start thinking more about like, what can I do from other people? Even it's just like neighbor, right? Like, sometimes we would help, grab even something easy. It's like I live in a building that's got a lot of different units in it. And so, sometimes I'll try if I see like mail, like a box or something for one of our neighbors that I know, like we have some elderly people that live here. I'll try to bring that box or package over to them because I know it's hard for them to get out, or sometimes people leave the wrong package on the wrong door and, or they leave it in a spot where you're like, somebody's going to run into that or, steal it. And so, just being a good neighbor in that sense, looking out for other people around you.
And it doesn't have to be complex. I mean, actually, this morning I was getting ready to go run to the office and do some things, and I saw our neighbors' 2 dogs just jet out of the backyard, and I went to try to grab them. They're nice little dogs, but they're when they get out of the yard, I mean, they're gone, you know. And so I went over and knocked on the door, socially distanced, of course, and my neighbor said, "Oh, you're kidding." She goes, "I just let them out in the yard. One of the kids must have left the gate open." So, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything complex. And I think even just a phone call, whether it's a Zoom call or FaceTime or just,
Yeah, or even a text. I mean, I think that's one of my kind of goals this year is trying to, because like last year, I felt like at the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, I've got all this time. Like I'm going to reach out to a lot of friends. And even though I did catch up with some of them, like there's so many, like there's one I'm thinking of like, oh my gosh, we were trying to do a Zoom call and like we never got around to doing it. And so like I need to follow up with that friend, or there's just some people I haven't talked to in like forever. Cause like you realize the whole year just passed by and you always think like, oh, I'll see them again. Or I'll, or we talked about meeting up like before the pandemic. And now you're like, I don't know when I'm going to meet up with these people. So like, I need to just text them and message them just to reach out to them because who knows when I'll actually see them again.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Because last year was a blur. We're going to have to close things for this week anyway because we're running out of time. But ladies, what's one thing that you would leave people with that as they move forward in this new year?
I think, kind of building on what you just said, Steve, I think don't put your life on hold. Don't have that attitude is, continue to make progress forward, even if it's not in the ideal situation. But I think that was the thing. A lot of people got stuck, like literally stuck. And like the deer in headlights type of thing last year is just a lot of people just put their lives on hold thinking, okay, when this is all over. And we don't know when this is all over. And I think it's going to be something that is going to change our day-to-day living forever in a sense. And so it's important to just keep moving forward with relationships, friendships, whether it's school, whether it's work, just keep on moving forward. And again, take comfort in knowing that everybody, is trying to do their best, right?
Yes.
I mean, I know it sounds kind of cliche to say like, oh, we're all in the same boat. And it's somewhat true. Everybody's maybe got a different, different issues that they're dealing with. But the fact is we're all dealing with a lot of the same circumstances. And so individually they may be different, but we all just have to move forward. And I think a lot of people are more understanding too. And so if they're more understanding of you, you should be more understanding of yourself and other people as well.
Absolutely. Katie?
I'm kind of along the same lines as what we've been talking about and what Larissa said, and just the whole thing of doing more for others, realizing that, okay, this is the new normal. I can't keep, saying, oh, when it gets back to normal, I'll do that. Go after what you want to do, start living your life. And really start, there's so much unity and division right now, and just start doing what's right, start standing up for, other people and doing things for other people that and really just listening, like you said, we're all in this, our stories are all different, but we're all in the same river trying to stay afloat,
Good word picture.
And it's just really start thinking in those terms of, I may not agree with you, but, we're all hurting. What can I do to help you? Type of thing. Just really start bringing that normalcy and human decency back. We really lost a lot of it last year with everything. And I know there were so many people that this was so new for all of us. We really didn't know. And, a lot of people lost their jobs and were struggling, and let's just bring the decency back, and start treating each other like we used to.
I know. It's weird. We're telling people, before it was be generous, be kind. It's you're bringing it to basics, be decent. That's just, and it's not even that difficult, right? Why is it so difficult to be just decent?
Yeah, I mean, be a decent human, treat others that way. And I'm going to go back, I'm going to cap it off and say, I'm going to go back to something I mentioned earlier. Treat everybody the way you want to be treated. It's that simple. It's back, like you said, Larissa, back to the basic. If you want to be treated mean, and again, that our hashtag Goodbye to Mean campaign, if you want to be, then treat everybody mean. But I don't think most people want to be treated that way. Treat people kindly. Listen. Let's relieve. I think we can relieve some of the tension in our culture just by respecting one another, listening to one another, okay? Maybe we have to agree to disagree, but we can do that, and where is our common ground? Treat each other humanly. Ladies, it's been a great convo, as always, with you two. I look forward to another one of these. I'm glad that we all got together. We want to remind people, how can they send a comment, a question, an idea? How can they get a hold of us?
Well, there's numerous ways. You can make sure you follow us across the board on social media at Utalk Radio. We're on everything but TikTok, unfortunately.
Guess we better get on.
I know, right? And you can always go to our website, utalkradio.com.
Yes, and I know that all of us, you can find us on individually from our Utalk pages as well. And, you know, we got another exciting guest next week, don't you guys?
Yeah, we do. It's going to be kind of fun. She is a young entrepreneur she's an actress, she's a speaker, she's an author. I happened to see something on YouTube from her, like a short reel that she did about unity. So she's going to be joining us next week. And I think it's very timely because it's a desire on the part of many people today because of at least in our country, things are so divided. So I think it's going to be kind of fun and getting a younger perspective, which is what we're all about here at Utalk. We're all about you talking to us. This show and its many facets is for those of you that are young adults. So tell a friend about Utalk, join us, send us a question. They can text us as well, can't they?
So you text the word Utalk, UTALK, with your comment or question or whatever you want us to know, and send that to 411-247.
All right, we'll see all of you next week here on Utalk. And for now, we're saying goodbye and check in with us on social.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
This is Utalk Radio.